Hi friends, and welcome to Folklore Diaries. Here, we share real-life horror stories and chilling legends from around the world. Some of them happen to our listeners, others have been passed down for years. So get comfortable but stay alert, because the next story might just keep you awake tonight. And if you like true horror stories, consider subscribing. Okay, let's begin. It happened in Penang, Malaysia, a coastal town known for its night markets, narrow streets, and old wooden houses built close together. The place was usually alive with food stalls and the smell of spices, but deep inside the village, near the mangrove trees, people whispered of something far darker. The story is about a woman named Amina, a midwife in her mid-30s. She lived alone in a small wooden house at the edge of the village. By day, she helped mothers give birth, treated fevers with herbs, and knew all the secrets of healing. But some villagers said she also knew the forbidden arts of black magic. Amina wore a long black baju kurung, traditional dress, and her eyes were strangely sharp, as if she could see into people's thoughts. Many respected her, but just as many feared her. Some whispered that she had made a secret deal with dark spirits for power. The villagers noticed something strange about Amina. She was never seen during the darkest nights, and chickens in the village were often found dead with their blood drained. People began to avoid her, but they dared not confront her directly, afraid of her curse. The story truly began on a humid night in 1974. A young girl named Suri, only 18 years old, was expecting her first child. Her husband, Rahim, was a fisherman who often came home late from the sea. That night, Rahim was still out, and Suri was alone in her house, clutching her stomach in pain. Outside, the wind blew hard through the palm trees, carrying with it a foul smell like rotting meat. Dogs in the village began to howl one after another. And then from the mangrove swamp, a sound rose, a strange, wet slurping noise. The Penanggalan was hungry. The night in Penang grew darker. The lanterns in the village flickered, and most houses had already shut their doors. But inside the small wooden house, Suri was restless. Sweat rolled down her face as she groaned, clutching her swollen belly. Her baby was coming soon, but her husband Rahim was still far away at sea. The only sound was the creaking of her roof in the wind, until something else joined it. Slurp, slurp. It was faint at first, almost like water dripping. But then it grew louder, wet and hungry. Suri froze. She knew that sound. Every child in the village had been warned about it. The sound of the Penanggalan feeding. She struggled to stand, clutching the wall. Her heart raced. She whispered a prayer under her breath, but her voice shook. Suddenly, her oil lamp flickered, then went out. The room sank into darkness, and then she saw it. Through the wooden cracks of her window, a floating head appeared, its long black hair tangled and wet. Its face was pale, its eyes glowing red in the night. But the most horrifying part, its entire stomach, intestines, and liver dangled beneath the head, dripping with blood as it floated in the air. The Penanggalan's mouth stretched unnaturally wide, sharp teeth glistening. Suri wanted to scream, but her voice died in her throat. She backed away slowly, clutching her belly as the creature hovered outside, sniffing the air like a beast. It wanted blood. It wanted the blood of a woman giving birth. The Penanggalan's tongue slid out, long and snake-like, tasting the air. Then, with a sudden force, it slammed against the window, making the old wooden planks shake. Suri cried out at last, falling to the floor. She remembered her grandmother's words. Only thorny vines and sharp bamboo can keep the Penanggalan away. She hates when her entrails get stuck. But Suri had nothing in her house, nothing to stop it. Outside, the floating witch let out a terrible scream, half human, half animal. And slowly, the window began to crack. The Penanggalan was coming inside. The wooden window finally gave way with a sharp crack. Splinters flew across the floor as the Penanggalan forced itself inside. Its head floated forward, intestines dragging along like a nest of snakes. The air filled with the smell of rotten blood and sickness. Suri screamed, stumbling backward, her hands trembling as she held her belly. The creature's voice was nothing like human. It hissed, gurgled, and whispered in broken words. "Blood, baby, give me." The Penanggalan hovered closer, its glowing red eyes fixed on her. The organ swayed beneath it, dripping foul slime onto the floor. With each wet drop, the wooden planks hissed, as if acid was burning them. Suri's knees weakened. She pressed herself into the corner of the room, whispering prayers again and again. But the witch only laughed, a chilling sound like glass breaking. Just as the creature lunged forward, thud, the front door burst open. Rahim, her husband, stumbled inside, still in his wet fishing clothes, carrying a bamboo pole. He froze, his face pale with shock at what he saw. "Your Allah," he whispered, eyes wide. The Penanggalan turned its head toward him, snarling, its long black hair whipping in the air. Rahim gripped the bamboo pole tighter, his hands shaking. "Stay back," he shouted, his voice breaking. The creature shrieked and launched itself at him. Rahim swung the bamboo with all his strength. The sharp edge cut across the dangling intestines, making the Penanggalan let out a scream so loud that windows in the house shattered. It recoiled, writhing in pain, its entrails flailing like wounded snakes. Rahim quickly pulled Suri to her feet, holding her close. "We must get to the temple," he cried. "The monks, only they know how to fight this." But the Penanggalan wasn't finished. It circled the room, furious, its long tongue lashing out, leaving burning marks on the walls. The air grew colder, the lamp glass shattered, and everything inside the small house shook. Suri clung to her husband, her breath ragged. The floating witch hissed once more and whispered, almost like a promise, "You cannot escape, your child is mine." And then, with one final scream, the Penanggalan shot upward through the roof, tearing the wood apart, and vanished into the night sky. For a moment, silence fell. Only Suri's sobs and Rahim's heavy breathing filled the broken house. But both of them knew this was only the beginning. Rahim half-carried, half-guided Suri through the narrow dirt paths of the village. The night was thick and heavy, and every shadow looked alive. The jungle around them whispered, and the cries of nocturnal birds echoed like warnings. Suri was weak, her face pale, her voice trembling. "Rahim, it will come back. I feel it watching me." He gripped her tighter. "Hold on. We'll be safe soon. Just hold on." Finally, the old wooden gates of the Bayan Lapis temple came into view. Lanterns glowed faintly, casting orange halos against the carved dragon pillars. The smell of incense drifted into the night, calming but heavy. Rahim banged on the gates. "Help! Please!" The doors creaked open slowly, and an old monk named Master Chin appeared. His shaved head gleamed in the lantern light, and his wise eyes immediately narrowed at the sight of the terrified couple. "What chased you here?" he asked in a low, steady voice. Before Rahim could answer, a shadow passed overhead. A terrible shriek echoed through the night. The Penanggalan was still nearby. Master Chen's expression hardened. "Bring them inside. Now." Two younger monks rushed to help, guiding Suri into the safety of the temple halls. They placed her on a mat before the large golden statue of Buddha. Rahim stood close, gripping his bamboo pole tightly, still shaking. Master Chen lit 3 sticks of incense and placed them before the statue. Then he sat before the couple and spoke gravely. "You have seen her, haven't you? The flying head with entrails." Rahim nodded quickly, still pale. "Yes, it attacked my wife. It wanted our unborn child." Master Chen sighed deeply. His voice dropped into almost a whisper. "That is the Penanggalan, a woman who once practiced black magic. She makes herself beautiful by day, but at night, her head detaches from her body and hunts. She feeds on the blood of mothers and newborns." Suri shuddered, tears rolling down her cheeks. "But why me? Why us?" The monk's eyes darkened. "Because someone close to you has bound your child with a curse. The Penanggalan cannot enter every home, only the ones marked." Rahim's mind raced. Marked? But who would do such a thing? Master Chen stood slowly, looking at the couple with deep sadness. "There is only one way to know. Tomorrow, when the sun rises, we will search your house. We will find the body that the Penanggalan left behind. For when her head flies, her body stays hidden somewhere. If we find it, we will know her true identity." Rahim's heart sank. He had grown up with Suri in the same small village. Everyone knew everyone. Who among them would be this monster? As if reading his thoughts, Master Chen added quietly, "Do not trust appearances. Many Penanggalan live as ordinary women during the day. They smile, they help, they act kind. But at night they hunt. The temple doors rattled suddenly, as if struck by great force. A wet hiss echoed in the distance. The Penanggalan was searching for them still. Master Chin pressed his palms together and whispered, "Stay here until dawn. Pray, for tomorrow the truth will wound you deeper than her teeth." Dawn broke slowly over Penang, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. The village looked calm, but the night's terror still clung to Rahim and Suri like a shadow. Inside the temple, the monks chanted prayers until the morning bell rang. Master Chin finally turned to Rahim. "It is time. The Penanggalan's body will still be hidden somewhere in the village. We must find it before the sun sets again." Rahim helped Suri stand, though she was still weak. Two younger monks accompanied them as they made their way back to the village. The air smelled of wet earth after the night storm, but beneath it lingered something faint, the sour, metallic scent of blood. When they reached their house, Master Chin stopped. His eyes scanned the wooden walls and the doorway. Then he knelt by the entrance, running his finger across the wood. "There," he whispered. Rahim looked closer. On the doorframe, faint symbols were drawn in dried chicken blood. "A curse mark," Suri gasped. "Who would mark our home?" Master Chen's voice was grim. "Only someone who knows you well. Someone who has been inside your house." Rahim's stomach twisted. Their neighbors? Friends? Who could it be? The group began searching every corner of the house and the small yard behind it. They opened baskets, lifted mats, and checked beneath the wooden floorboards. Finally, one of the younger monks froze. "Master, here." Behind the house, in an old rice storage hut, they found something horrifying. Laid out on the floor was a headless female body. The skin was pale, the chest rising and falling faintly, still alive, even without a head. Around the neck was a ragged, bloody stump, as though the head had torn itself free. Suri screamed and clutched Rahim. Rahim's blood ran cold. He recognized the dress. It was a black baju kurung, the kind worn by the village midwife. "Amina," he whispered. Master Chen's eyes hardened. "So it is her." They had found the Penanggalan's body. The monk explained in a low voice. "The body must always stay hidden, for the flying head must return to it before dawn. If it cannot, the creature dies." Rahim's hands shook with rage and fear. Amina, the woman who had once delivered babies, who had smiled at Suri during market days, who had visited their home many times, was the monster. Master Chin took out a small pouch of sharp thorns and needles soaked in vinegar. "We must fill the body with these. When she returns, she will not be able to rejoin. Her death will be certain." Rahim hesitated. He remembered all the times Amina had helped the villagers. She had once healed his father's fever with herbs. Could it truly be her? But then he remembered the flying head, the dripping entrails, the hiss that almost killed his wife and child. His jaw tightened. Yes. Do it. As the monks prepared the trap, Rahim and Suri stood outside, watching the quiet village begin its morning. Chickens clucked, neighbors fetched water, and children played, all unaware that a monster lived among them. But as they stood there, Rahim noticed something. The villagers were whispering, pointing at him and Suri with uneasy eyes. One old woman muttered, "Be careful. When you accuse a healer, curses follow." Rahim suddenly felt the weight of another truth. If the village discovered they had attacked Amina's body, many might defend her. For in daylight, she was not a monster, she was a respected midwife. And if the Penanggalan somehow found out, she would hunt them harder than ever. The day dragged on like an eternity. Rahim could barely focus on the chores around his small house. Every knock of a hammer, every barking dog, every whisper of the wind made his heart race. Inside the rice hut, Amina's headless body lay hidden, its pale skin covered by shadows. The monks had done their work, stuffing the hollow body with thorns, sharp bamboo, and needles soaked in vinegar. A smell of sour herbs and blood filled the air. Master Chin warned them, "Stay inside tonight. Do not open the door, no matter what you hear. The Penanggalan will return, and she will be desperate." Suri nodded, clutching her newborn tighter than ever. As the sun sank into the horizon, the village grew silent. Only the chirping of crickets filled the night. A thin mist crawled over the ground, and the moon rose pale and heavy. Then it came, a low, wet hissing that drifted on the night air. The sound of something dragging through the wind. Rahim peered from the crack in the wooden window. Floating above the treetops, glowing faintly in the moonlight, was the hideous form. Amina's head, entrails swinging like a curtain of blood and slime. Her long hair streamed behind her as she sniffed the air, searching. Rahim's breath caught in his throat. She's here. The flying head swooped down over the huts, circling like a vulture. Her voice echoed across the village. Where is my body? The sound was neither human nor animal. It was both at once, a voice twisted by rage and hunger. One by one, dogs in the village began barking and then suddenly fell silent, their whimpers cut short. Somewhere a baby cried, and Rahim saw the floating head pause, hovering toward the sound. But then she turned sharply. Her entrails jerked, pulling her toward the rice hut. She had found it. Rahim's blood turned to ice. Through the cracks of the hut, he saw her descend, her face twisted into a mask of fury and desperation. She slipped inside, her head vanishing into the darkness of the hut. Silence. Then, a shriek tore through the night, so loud that windows rattled and chickens scattered in terror. The villagers woke and poured out of their homes, clutching oil lamps. Confused voices filled the air. What is happening? Is it a ghost? Who is screaming? Rahim held Suri close, praying the villagers would not interfere. But curiosity pulled them toward the rice hut. Then, with a crash, the door burst open. Amina's head came flying out. Her face contorted, eyes glowing red. Her entrails thrashed violently, dripping blood on the ground. Her scream turned into a wail of rage. Who has done this to me? The villagers gasped and recoiled, dropping their lamps. Some screamed. Others crossed themselves in prayer. They saw her true form now, the Penanggalan twisted in the air, glaring around, until her glowing eyes landed on Rahim and Suri's house. Her hiss turned into a growl. You, Rahim froze. She knew. Before anyone could move, the Penanggalan shot forward like a spear of flesh and blood, heading straight for their door. Rahim grabbed the door bar and pushed with all his strength. Outside, her entrails slammed against the wood, trying to force their way in. The monks inside the hut began chanting louder, the words mixing with the furious screeches. The villagers, terrified, scattered in every direction. Some fainted. Some fled into the jungle. Only a handful stayed, staring in horror at the battle. The door rattled. The walls shook. Suri cried out as the baby whimpered in her arms. Rahim shouted over the chaos. Master Chun, what do we do now? The monk's voice was steady despite the noise. She cannot join her body again. But she will not stop until she destroys everything. Tonight, we must end her. The Penanggalan's scream pierced the night again, louder than before, and Rahim knew the final confrontation was about to begin. The night had become a battlefield. The villagers huddled in fear, their lamps flickering. The Penanggalan clawed at Rahim's door with her long black hair and dripping entrails, her shrieks echoing into the jungle. Master Chin stepped forward, his prayer beads glowing faintly in the moonlight. His voice rose above the chaos, steady and commanding. Rahim, Suri, stay inside. Tonight, the curse must end. The Penanggalan twisted her head toward him, lips curling back to reveal sharp, blood-stained teeth. You dare interfere with me, monk? Her entrails lashed out like whips, striking the ground and splattering blood across the dirt. The villagers screamed and fell back. But Chin did not move. He opened his pouch and threw a circle of salt, herbs, and iron nails on the ground. A faint red glow surrounded him. The Penanggalan screeched and darted forward, but her body stopped short at the barrier, writhing in midair. Her eyes glowed brighter. You think you can trap me? Then, with a sudden jerk, she changed direction, darting toward the rice hut where her body lay stuffed with thorns. Rahim's heart dropped. She's trying to force herself back inside. The monk shouted, Rahim, quickly! You must burn the body before she reaches it. Only fire will end her curse. Rahim's blood ran cold. Burn the body of Amina, the woman who once laughed with Suri, who once played with the village children. who once lived like everyone else. But there was no time to hesitate. He grabbed a torch and ran toward the rice hut. The villagers watched in shock as he burst inside. There it was, Amina's lifeless body, headless, stuffed with sharp thorns, her pale skin stretched tight. It looked almost human still, as if sleeping, waiting. Rahim raised the torch, his hand trembling. "I'm sorry, Amina." He lowered the flame. The dry straw floor caught first, and within seconds, the fire roared to life. Flames licked her body, and the smell of burning flesh filled the air. Outside, the Penanggalan let out a scream unlike anything human, a sound so piercing that even the stars seemed to flicker. She thrashed wildly in the air, her entrails bursting with sparks of light. "No! No! My body! My body!" She tried to dive into the hut, but the flames surged higher, pushing her back. The villagers shielded their eyes, terrified, as the floating head convulsed. Her entrails began to shrivel, smoke rising from them as if they were burning from the inside. Her glowing red eyes locked on Rahim one last time. "You think you've won? But the curse does not end with me. It passes to another." Her face twisted in agony, and with a final scream, her head and entrails exploded into ash, scattering across the night sky. Silence fell. The only sound was the crackling of fire as the rice hut collapsed into glowing embers. The villagers slowly emerged from hiding, their faces pale and frightened. They looked at Rahim, at Suri, at the crying baby in her arms. Whispers spread. "The Penanggalan is gone. She's destroyed. We are safe now." But Master Chen's face was not relieved. He looked at the child, his eyes dark with worry. Rahim noticed. "Why do you look like that? She's gone. Isn't she?" The monk spoke quietly, almost to himself. When a Penanggalan dies, her spirit often clings to what she desired most in life. Amina longed for children, for motherhood. Rahim's blood turned cold. He looked at the baby. The infant, who had been crying moments ago, had suddenly stopped. Its wide eyes glowed faintly in the firelight, not red, but a strange, unnatural amber. The baby smiled, and in that smile, Rahim saw something he would never forget, tiny, sharp teeth just beginning to form. Thank you for listening to tonight's story. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And remember, not every shadow is empty, and not every voice in the dark is in your head. Good night, and stay safe.